Good evening. I'm speaking to you from Italy, and I'm really glad to be able to say hello to everybody at the Albany Club, one of my favorite places in Toronto. It's such a beautiful location. And I hope you're having a wonderful evening celebrating the launch of What We Lost, Tawfiq Rangwala's wonderful book about the so called We Charity scandal. I wrote a foreword to the book, and I don't really necessarily want to add to that, except in the book, in the foreword, I spoke about two things that I thought were important to me. One, the idea of answering a call to serve, and certainly all of this scandal, so-called, began when we answered a call to serve, even though they didn't particularly want to. They had to close things down as a result of COVID, but they had actually unique skills to be able to run a student program in that first summer of COVID. So they answered that call to serve. And secondly, the what it means to be falsely accused. In my life, I've had a lot of people put words in my mouth and accuse me of things I didn't do. But the impact was mostly on me. But I know how hard it is and how frustrating it is and how your only answer that you can provide is truth. But in this particular scenario, people weren't interested in the truth. And every time people made suggestions or accusations or assertions about Craig and Mark Kielburger, and they responded by trying to be transparent and truthful, it was as if it was kind of a whack-a-mole. And people said, well, we don't care about that, or don't confuse us with facts. Now we want to care about this kind of thing. And so what We Charity did was, I mean, maybe the boys learned this from helping to renovate houses when they were kids in their summers. But what they learned was when people came to Africa or the other places, I know only can speak about Kenya, to help build schools, that if they could be involved in building a stone wall, they weren't skilled enough to build a whole structure, but if they could do part of it, that connection to the actual work would give them great pleasure. And that's certainly what you saw. So We Charity and the projects that they did, both the things they did for young people in Canada, motivating young people in schools to care about their communities and to work together. They created clubs. So this was this idea of working together with other people to try to make your society a better place or to try to solve problems. That this is not only important for individuals, and we know that for young people, resilience is very important. Youthful suicide and bullying and all sorts of terrible things that young people are dealing with often in schools now. But what we programs did was to try and give students resources to overcome those pressures and to feel good about themselves and to put themselves on a road to happiness. And one of the politicians who, in my view, abuse the immunity that parliamentary committees give to parliamentarians to say things that they might be held accountable for outside of Parliament, attacking we and attacking the Kielburgers in an outrageous way, stopped to say that, of course, his own daughter was involved in we and changed her life and put her on the path of social activism. But meanwhile, I'm not going to try and destroy you because aside from the good things you've done for my family, uh, it would suit me to use who you are to attack my political opponent. So it's a very important story. I hope this is a book that will be read by students in journalism and communication, that it will be read by students in political science. It's an extremely interesting story of a case study in Canada of where falsehoods were weaponized. And I just want to conclude by saying that you may think it's a stretch to say that the We Charity scandal is of a piece with the lies that we're seeing in the United States, the big lie about Donald Trump winning the election, and all that is entailed to undermine American democracy, or the lies that Vladimir Putin tells Russians to justify their demonization and killing and attacking of Ukrainians. But it's all of a piece when we don't care about truth, when we're willing to take falsehoods and use them to attack people, heedless of what is true and what is real. It's part of a much bigger problem. The truth does matter. And that's why I want to tip my hat to Tawfiq Rangwala for resigning from the board, distancing himself so he could take a dispassionate look at all that he'd lived through as a member of the board of We, and telling the story because it does matter. The truth matters. And the story is a shocking and terrible story. But the other story that you can also read is this wonderful story of two young Canadian men who decided they wanted to make the world a better place and who used their skills and their elite education to motivate others. And as I say in the foreword, when I was the founding principal of the Peter Loughy Leadership College at the University of Alberta, and we invited Craig and Mark to give one of the first year's Loughy College lectures, we had to find a way bigger hall, the biggest lecture hall in the university, to accommodate all the young people who wanted to come and hear their heroes. Not because it was some kind of cult or people that they, followed blindly. No, they wanted to hear the young people who would help them to be the best people they could be. And they were eternally appreciative of these two young men who believed in them and encouraged them to engage in the activities that set them on the road to civic engagement and ultimately the happiness that comes from thinking about other people and making your society and your world a better place. So thank you, Tawfiq, for writing this book. Please enjoy this evening's celebration and know that the story is very important and the bad parts should also be balanced by the wonderful tale of the Kielburger family and what they were able to accomplish, ordinary Canadians who accomplished extraordinary things. Thanks. Good night.